Forever Zero here. We're going to be discussing an article I wrote a really long time ago, about 4 years ago, and it's basically my philosophy theory on peaking angles when playing this game. So to go over one thing first, so everyone understands depth. The article is called Relation to the Wall. And this doesn't apply everywhere on the map. Sometimes you're just exposed to so many different angles, it just comes down to a reaction shot. So this doesn't apply everywhere. And also, it can only be applied very well if you understand how your opponents play and how much map knowledge you have. So to go over one definition, it's called depth. Depth refers to how far you are away from the wall that's in front of you. To give you an example why this matters, I'll go right over here. So let's say there's a guy right there. I'm up close to the wall and I peek. And we're exchanging bullets. Now after I unpeek, the next thing I should do is adjust my depth and we peek him again. So here's the thing. I'm up here, I peek him. Okay, we exchange some shots, he hits me a couple times. I fall back. Now, as I'm moving backwards, I might actually catch him falling. So now I know what his new position. Secondly, I'm peeking him from a new depth. So what does this do? Okay, so you peek him up close to this wall. Now he sets his crosshair placement based off the level that he saw you peek, which is right here. Now you adjust and peek him from a different angle quickly. That causes him to have to react upwards in this case based off your new peak. That's how you manipulate depth to throw your opponent's crosshair placement off. Obviously, this makes perfect sense because if you peek him from back here, that's where he's going to have his crosshair placement. Because he sets his crosshair placement based off the information you gave him. Now you can utilize this in so many different ways. You can utilize this information to be able to double peek things. In the case of Catwalk, and someone playing elevated, from a different level from where you're playing, you can easily double peek this angle. One from right here, and one from right here. Even though we're not here to discuss this, when your opponent is playing elevated, meaning you're peeking them from a different level that they're playing, so in this case this guy's higher than them, those are angles that you as a team can actually double peek based off knowing this information, having this knowledge of depth. So let's go back and discuss this. So relation to the wall. This is relation to the wall. So basically we have two extremes, close to the wall, further away from the wall. And then we're going to have my optimal position, which is right in the middle. Well, right in the middle, or the second optimal way is to be constantly adjusting, and we'll discuss this. And then at the end, we're going to discuss the mistakes that amateurs do. So close to the wall. Okay, the cons of peeking close to the wall is you can expose yourself to many different angles at once. The pros to peeking close to the wall is, first, you can fake them out. You have a better understanding and perception on how much your body is sticking out if you're close to the wall. 2, I feel the closer that you get to your opponent to make a shoulder peek, the faster the peaks appear on your opponent's screen. So I peek close to the wall when I know exactly where my opponent is, or when I want to clear or peek an angle out that I feel I can get away with peeking closer to the wall. So in this case, let's say I have the B spawn, and I know, they're not going to be over here, but he may peek right here. He might just do a raw peek. I'm going to take my best spawn and come right here. Instantly. Just make a really fast peek, and from this distance from the wall, I know if I peek this, I can clear this out and clear that out. So it's really understanding to have map knowledge, knowing that how close can I get to the wall in order to make good, quick, tight shoulder peeks without exposing myself to a bunch of angles. So that's close up to the wall. Further away from the wall is more for clearing out angles. So as you see there, I'm clearing out angles. That's really slow. It's taking a long time. Like, we get through these angles really quick, but then we have this empty space. And it just goes slow. So, further away from the wall, the peaks are going to appear slow at times. In this case, this peak can actually be kind of fast. So, I feel when you're peaking angles to the left, further away is pretty acceptable. When you're starting to peak angles that are to the right, it just starts to feel that it's more slow. It's not as fast. And it's harder to judge how much you're putting yourself out there based off your peaks. Now, you have to gain intel somewhere. You have to gain information. So this is ideal, the best way, because you have to be able to clear out angles the less amount that has the least amount of risk. This is risky, exposing yourself to many different angles. You can get picked off. And it's also good to just throw yourself out there and hit a reaction shot. In the case, there's going to be times in rounds where you don't have time to clear out angles. So what's the best possibility to do? You're going to want to get closer to the wall and just expose yourself to many different angles and hope that your opponent misses because he set up his crosshair placement incorrectly, and you hit the reaction shot. Because that's the most ideal way, and that's why once you watch this video and understand this, you're able to apply this wide variety of knowledge to different times in the round where it's going to benefit you the most. So, sorry, a little off topic there. Further away from the wall, clear out angles. That's the pro of it. The cons. Oh, also holding. Like, ideally, I'm going to hold, if I have to hold this angle, I'm not holding it up here. Now, you can't really tell. I guarantee that guy can see me. Guarantee you. So I'm not going to hold the angle right up here. I'm going to hold it back here. It's safe. It's safe. It's more safe. Simple as that. So holding angles in a safer way, clearing angles out in the least risky way is the benefit here. Peeking closer from the wall. The con, it just appears slower. I just feel it appears slower on your opponent's screen. And I feel a lot of people, if you're constantly stuck in one depth, I feel you're just really easy to kill. You have to be constantly changing your depth, and I think that's what really great players do. They constantly adjust their depth, and they understand it. They understand how they're making the peaks. They might not understand it or have the feel that I do, but the purpose of this video is to give you the feel and understanding of how to manipulate your depth, manipulate your peaks, and ruin your opponent's crosshair placement. So here's an example. If someone's opting B and he has his crosshair placement, what is he playing for? I'll tell you what he's playing for. He's playing for he's playing for a shorter peak on his opponent that's further away from the wall. Because not as much as the body's gonna not show as much and most likely land right in the middle of his crosshair. Now, is this advantageous? Sure, if they peek close to the wall. But if someone peeks close to the wall on this guy, when that person peeks close to the wall, more of his body is going to show. So the opera might actually whiff, or might just not be ready for that peek. It might just catch him off a surprise. So here, now that we've gone to those things, now I'm going to talk about the ideal way. So let's say this is the map right here. This is the area you're in. The ideal position I feel is if you draw a straight line from this wall to this wall, and it's somewhere in the middle of that. Reason being is you can go from one extreme to the next. fairly easy without going too far to the extreme. Too far to the extreme is this. And we're going to get to this, why this is so bad. Being close to the wall. Like this much close. But you're able to adjust from one extreme to the other, depending on what's prescribed. So what's the second best way? The second best way is, first you gotta understand the map and the angles that you're clearing out. So basically, before I move on, being from the middle here, being within the middle of the two extremes, it makes your peaks appear fast enough. It doesn't expose you to as many angles as you would say too close to the wall, and you're still able to clear out angles without exposing yourself to as many angles as, let's say, up here. So that's I feel that is one way to apply it, starting from the middle of the two walls and working through the extremes, going from one extreme to the next, or based off what's prescribed. What's your best way to apply this information when you take a spot? So I feel it's very advantageous to do it that way. The second best way is to be constantly adjusting. So let's talk about this. Let's say I don't have a good spawn and I come B. They could be already on plat. So I go further away from the wall. So I clear. Now, what should I do? I have this all cleared. And what's the next best move? I would say get closer, since you have now met a direct straight line. Like these are angles. These are angular. This is directly straight. So I would start adjusting myself. Boom. 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 That's the second best way. Just constantly be adjusting yourself based off your level of your comfort on movement. Obviously, this is just really slow. Honestly, I'm not an opper, but I guarantee you, if I played against an opper who all he did was stay as far as back as he could, I guarantee you I would pick him off every single time. It's just free frags. You gotta be real mobile. You gotta be someone who's able to make quick peeks and take people head on. In aim battles, and I feel that is the best way to do it, is to maximize the appearance and speed of your peak, and to throw off your opponent's crosshair placement by manipulating depth. So, what do amateurs do? Amateurs do this. They get so close to the wall, and they think that they can actually do something. Like this is like, if you to do this correctly, you're basically looking at the wall like this. You're gonna get wrecked here 24/7. So that's why I prescribe the mean. So if I have to rotate back to B, and let's say we're gonna do a split on B, I am not coming here and going like this. I am not doing that, because what's this do? What if this guy is pushed up right there? What if someone's right there? What if someone's right there? No, I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna come through the middle of where I understand it, the middle of the two walls, and I'm gonna be pre-aiming. And I might run into the guy that's pushed up. I might just run into him, and then it just comes down to an aim battle. It just comes down to me counteracting my strafe and outreacting him. But from here, I can actually clear out angles better. As you see here, I'm constantly moving, and that's ideal. In this case, you're